Welcome back to the Spirit, Mind and Soul podcast. Today I'm speaking with wellness coach Erica, who changed her life after her experience with depression, which was brought on by her husband leaving for the army just after she'd had her second child. Erica now works with women to help them cope with life's daily stressors, and today she tells me about the journey and how she got to where she is now, a place where she's thriving in business, life, mentally. And I really enjoyed this chat and hearing her positive words and words of wisdom. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please hit the like button and subscribe. You'll be notified when the next episode comes out. Hi, Erica. So, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the podcast today. I'm looking forward to hearing a bit more depth about your story and the journey to where you are now. So, I know when we spoke, you were talking about your husband. He left for the army, and you were essentially home alone with. Was it your first child at this point?
No, it was my second.
Your
So
second.
I had an almost 3-year-old and a newborn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he left for the army, so that must have been tough.
Yeah, it was really challenging. I mean, I think I was like, oh, I can do this. I've had one kid before. I'll be able to handle this.
Mm-hmm.
And everything, for as most moms know who have multiple children, um, it doesn't go the same anytime that you have another one to
Mm-hmm.
add into the mix. So with
Mm-hmm.
the my daughter, when she was born, he left 10 days after she was born. And so I was still clearly recovering from from delivery. And also
Mm-hmm.
because we were in the army, we didn't really have a close support system. So I didn't live near my family. We had a few friends, but it really was just me about 2 weeks after she was born on my own with, the newborn and then an almost 3-year-old. So it
Mm-hmm.
was definitely a shock to both my physical body and my mental body. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't really realize how much it impacted me until he came home, which was like 8 months later.
Oh,
So,
wow. Wow.
yeah.
So what support did you have during that time? What were you doing to get yourself through that?
I wasn't doing a lot, honestly. When I look back now at what I've learned since that experience on how to take care of my mental and physical health, I really wasn't doing very much. I think a lot of moms worry about like, oh, I need to lose the baby weight or I need to get my
Mm-hmm.
body back in order. So if anything, I focused on, you know, just walking and trying to
Mm-hmm.
um, strengthen myself back up physically, but I wasn't paying attention to a lot of the signs my body was telling me on how I needed to take care of more than just like losing the baby weight. um,
Yeah.
and I had a couple of friends that were around and they would come hang out with me. So I could do things like shower, always good. And then,
Mm-hmm.
um, a couple of people came to visit, but really it was mostly just me trying to make it
Mm-hmm.
day to day. So support system wise, I didn't really fall back on the best practices other than moving my body, walking around the block, which is a great practice that everyone should just do in general, right? The walking. But it wasn't enough. And so that was really what I now know I didn't focus enough on um, because I ended up with we in the States we say postpartum depression. I loved it. You called it
Yeah.
postnatal depression. And I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
really um, nice way to look at it because that didn't happen for me until again after he came home. And oftentimes we
Mm-hmm.
talk about that the depression hits right after the baby is born or soon after having the
Mm-hmm.
child, but not necessarily thinking of it as, oh, 8 months after I had this child, now I'm
Mm-hmm.
realizing where I really
Mm-hmm.
was physically and mentally.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily postnatal, it was very delayed and it did it you feel it just hit you all at once.
It was
Mm.
delayed and it was like a crash. I remember going to my doctor and saying I'm at my postnatal checkup and I'm saying I just don't feel great and they're like, oh, everything's fine, your blood work is fine, your whole body is fine. And I was like, you keep saying I'm fine and I'm not fine. Something's not right. And it after my husband returned and I did do the crash, like it felt like a crash. My adrenal glands were completely shot because I had been running on adrenaline pretty much the whole time he was gone. I never really recovered my body for sure. I wasn't putting in foods that were giving me enough iron and enough nutrients to sustain what my body was telling me I needed. And I just felt like I crashed so hard. And when you're in a constant state of like fight or flight, which is what it really did feel like in my body and my nervous system, you can't sustain that for very long without your entire nervous system going haywire. And so that's really what happened is my autonomic nervous system just said, nope, we're done. So so yeah, I fell into depression. I really struggled with anemia and getting, iron back into my body after having the baby. And also just not being able to sleep well, besides the fact that I was nursing and she was an infant. Um, Resting and sleep was not being prioritized when I was the only parent, and there's a lot of single mamas out there that are not probably prioritizing the thing that would be the most beneficial for them, you know, at any time during life, right? Yeah. Making sure that you're getting enough rest so your body has the time to regenerate and really do what it needs to do.
Yeah, and that'll manifest in other ways and it'll come out at some point. If you just keep suppressing it and think I'll just power through, at some point it's going to come back and you're going to have to face that.
Yeah.
So what was the point for you that you thought, I really need to do something about this and address this?
I saw my doctor again. Like, I think I went like 3 times to my regular doctor, who I really liked. Like, I had always had a positive experience. They didn't tell me anything that, turned me off to them. Like, I fully support Western medicine, but I felt like they didn't believe me when I said I didn't feel well. And so a friend of mine is a yoga therapist, and she encouraged me to see an Ayurvedic health counselor. And I was like, a what? What is this word that you are saying? And she was like, well, Ayurveda, so it's a sister science to yoga. It's sort of like the way that the traditions, yogic traditions center around, preventative medicine. It's sort of like the medicine side of the yoga limbs. And I said, okay, I trusted her. So I said, I will go and find someone. And I did. And I went and had like a consultation and worked with her for about 3 months. And it was amazing in the way that she approached my health, like listening when I said, I'm not feeling well. I don't know how to get my body back in balance. And so she worked with me with food choices and herbs and less movement, so more rest, less movement. And all of her work really made an impact on me because I instantly started feeling better. And I said, this is amazing. Like, how, A, I've never heard of this. And then B, how did she know how to best bring me back into balance so that I could be the best mom that I could be and the best partner to my spouse? And it was amazing the amount of change that I saw once I started implementing, Ayurvedic strategies and really pulling that into the lifestyle that I now lead.
So what became your routine then, your daily routine to make you feel better, back to yourself?
So I will say that I believe that routines should change regularly with how your body is responding. But for me at that time, the routine really was about rest and slowing down. Again, I think a lot of times women put an emphasis on getting their body back. And that looks like excessive exercising and limiting your calories and really thinking about things that were not helpful to my body, actually what it needed. So my routine needed to be a little bit more chill. I needed to I started to incorporate meditation in the morning, which I still do and find it immensely helpful for starting off my day. Um, just light
Yeah.
walking. She had me doing less running, less walking, less of all of the things that would excite my body too much, and really started doing more grounding things. A lot of walking in nature.
Mm.
Um, and then also it just I started to build in times of the day when I would sit for 5 minutes, and I didn't have to do anything necessarily. Like now I add things into that routine during those 5 minutes, but
Mm-hmm.
those 5 minutes initially were just to just sit and be still. And that was really challenging, to just sit and be
Mm-hmm.
still, because that's not a common practice for most go
Yeah.
go go people these days,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
and when I mean sit and be still, that doesn't mean like sit with my phone and scroll and be still. It meant like put down everything, close your eyes, and just sit there and listen to what your body is saying you need. And that was a huge shift for me, especially because I could, sometimes hear that, oh, the baby woke up from her nap, or, oh, I probably should be doing grocery shopping, or I should be folding some laundry, or I should.
Mm.
And that routine really was, no, what you should do is stop and listen to your body and give yourself a few minutes to yourself. And that was a huge practice that sounds so easy and was so very, very
Mm.
difficult for me.
Yeah, I think slowing down is everything. And like you say, it's so hard because there's so many distractions. And especially, I know being a busy mum as well. And you feel, like you say, you've got so much to do. Your mind's telling you, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I have a morning routine as well, and it just sets me up for the day. And if ever I feel that I need those just 5 minutes, it's hard.
It's
It's
hard.
really hard, but you need to listen. Your body's saying you just need 5 minutes just to listen. Sometimes I'll put on some nice music and just have it there, because if I'm going to be distracted by anything, at least let it be some nice music and just sit still just for 5 minutes. But you now help other women do the same. So the work that this woman brought to you, where you, because I think I butchered the word as well. Can you tell me again what it's called?
It's Ayurveda.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, it means the science of life. It's like a beautiful, if you
Okay.
break down the word
Uh,
in Sanskrit, like it's just really beautiful. It's the science of life, how you're in
mhm.
balance with nature,
Yeah.
and how you're listening to your body and giving it what it needs. Works a
Hmm.
lot in opposition. So if I'm very excited and uh, overwhelmed, stressed, all of the words that I described before, um,
Hmm.
then it works in the opposite qualities. So you want to balance that out with grounding and nourishing foods, and things that are going to center your body and bring it down from the element of
Mm.
ether or space that's floating around out there, and really get down to earth and heaviness.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
most women I work with live in that space of go, 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 do. Um, no, I don't put myself first ever. And this was a career change for me. I was a high school teacher. So
Wow.
I
Wow.
was so impacted by what I was doing with my own wellness counselor that I decided I wanted to do that for other women as well. And so it works really
Hmm.
well for me to meet with people, particularly to shift their energy. So, like I said, Ayurveda is part of, it stems from the same tree as yoga. So I'm also yoga certified, and I can do sound healing as well. So I sort of mix all of the modalities in together to
Yeah.
work with women to get them a routine that works for them. Because oftentimes I hear my clients saying, like, I don't have time for myself. Well, no, you probably do, but we have to shift where your attention is, because where you shift your attention, your energy will flow. So if we're
Hmm.
saying I don't have time for myself, then yes, you're going to make yourself so busy that you don't have time for yourself.
Yeah.
But if we can look at that routine and say, okay, where can we give you those 5 minutes? And oftentimes it really is working with people to be like, let's 5 minutes, 3 times a day, where you can do X, Y, or Z. Not a lot of strategies, but simple ones that can just shift energy so that mom gets more time back to herself. And the more that we do that for ourselves, the better we show up for our kids and for our partners and in our jobs. And that's really important to learn how to do that for ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what I'm
I
doing now.
it's I think people, especially mums, feel guilt for taking that time. And
Hmm.
how do you get that through to someone? Because it took me a long time as well to start working. Because I hit a brick wall at some point. I was busy, busy, busy studying, mum, single mum, working, study, all the things,
All the
keeping
things.
myself busy, maybe even distracting myself from actually doing the work. So maybe it was an excuse as well to, when you sit for those just 5 minutes or however long to take time for yourself, stuff might come up that we don't want to face. Do you find that as well?
Oh yeah. I think that's the scariest part about doing, I mean, you said doing, like I was doing it to distract myself to not do the work.
Hmm.
I think that that is the biggest hurdle, is that if you sit down to listen to yourself for 5 minutes, you might not like what you hear. You might not like how you feel. And that really is the hard part. That's the hard part of doing the work. Um, because a lot of times people don't want to feel that. They don't like how their nervous system reacts. They don't like um, knowing that that is an uncomfortable feeling and then digging into why it feels that way. And I work with a lot of women that are like that. And so we work on journaling techniques or different breathing techniques to get through it, because that's your body telling you that there's something that you really actually need to
To
listen to.
address.
Yeah. And so working through that, giving strategies to help work through it is the only way for it to release out of your body and let it go. And it might not be
Hmm.
yours. A lot of what we talk about in Ayurveda too is generational things that your body has,
Hmm.
either generational trauma or generational history, um, that you get the lovely job of digesting for
Hmm.
the people that came before you. And
Yep.
that is a lot too. It's just like, it might not be yours, but you still have to process it so that your body's
Hmm.
energy can flow better. And then once it's gone, taking that breath and knowing that, oh, I did that work, so that you're not passing it on to whoever is coming after you. And since I work mostly with moms, I think a goal of most moms is, I don't want them to feel the way I did when this happened, or I don't want to pass on this characteristic to my children. I want them to have it better than I did. um, so part of that work is getting rid of the stuff that lives inside your cells and your muscles and your memory and your bones, and working through
Hmm.
that as well.
So what's next for you then with this work? Because this has been a few years now you've been doing this.
Yeah, so I've mostly been doing one-on-one work, and while I love that, what I'm noticing is that um, doing the work in community feels a lot better to women. Because I think partially because we come from the military background. My husband's retired now, but we moved so often that we didn't have a solid foundation of support in like a
Hmm.
mom community. So I want to make sure that I am encouraging moms, no matter where you are, who might be having trouble finding their community wherever they live, to come together and really just sit and rest and knowing themselves better. So I started a membership, a monthly membership, that's called Reset Energy, because that is what we all kind of need to do. We do look at a lot of different Ayurvedic techniques, but mostly it's really carving out some time and protecting that time for mom to spend on mom, and that is
Hmm.
what I am doing now, and I'm loving it. I love that I can be in a community with people who are not my physical neighbors, but feel like, neighbors, because I can reach out to them online. And I think that a lot of that does stem from the fact that we just moved so much, and not having a community was definitely a challenge, especially when you have kids. And even now that we're rooted, and we have a place and we're not going anywhere, um, I still often find that I make my friends through my kids when I'm on the playground or we're at
Yeah.
dance or at soccer. And this is a different way of meeting people who have similar backgrounds, that want to work on
Yeah.
themselves and put themselves first. and not buy into the go, go, go all the time. And so I find that that's super helpful too, just to know that I'm not alone in, working on this type of self-care and soul care and really focusing on, me as a mom, which I think is really important and we need more of.
And is there anything that you want or longing for in the future that's just for you? Because you're doing all this work, helping other people, and you've done the work on yourself as well. So what about for the future, something that's a goal or something you're longing for that's just for you? I'm just curious.
Whenever I hear that, I'm like, ooh, I long for a beach just with me.
Me too. That's my goal.
I mean, like, yes, that would be amazing and wonderful. But I think what it is that I long for is just more people to just be. It makes a huge difference. I think we were living in New York City when COVID happened, and so it was remarkable to see how the city shifted and how nature shifted when there was nothing happening around it. So while there were so many negatives that came out of it, like seeing a city as big as New York quiet with no pollution, being able to see stars, like we could actually finally see some stars at night. The light, because there were so many people that left, the light pollution wasn't as bad, the actual pollution wasn't as bad, and people were just sitting and being by force, not in a great situation, right? But it really did make a huge difference to see what can happen when a collective group of people choose not to be engaged in busy, busy, busy all the time. And I think that that's really my biggest wish, is that there would be a larger group of people that are wanting to just sit and be and listen to each other. I think it would have huge impacts on listening to yourself, listening to each other, and really understanding humans and kindness, and yeah, it's a big wish, but also a beach.
Yeah.
A beach.
Well, do you know, I think that's one of my goals as well. It's not a hard one to reach. I think one day you'll get your beach. But I think we've hit the peak of busy and go, and I really think the collective are starting, people are starting to slow down and do the healing work. I think this is a generation where we are really doing it, and like you spoke about generational healing work as well. I think we're all getting there slowly, but I think we've hit the peak and we're all starting to slow down a little bit. And I think lockdown probably did play a big part in that as well.
Yeah. I hope so. I mean, I just hope that we all get a chance to listen to ourselves a little bit more, and listen to each other, and really hear what it is that our unique bodies are telling us, because it's really important, especially as moms, who we always put our children first, and that's amazing and wonderful, but also what are we doing to take care of ourselves, so that we're the best version of ourselves that we can be for our kiddos.
And do you have anything or any words of advice to give for anyone who was where you are, where you were a few years ago before you started in this journey?
I think if you listen to yourself and you know something's not right, something is not right. You don't need a doctor to tell you that something feels off. And I think a lot of time women shut down their intuition, and it's not helpful. Like, if you feel like there's something wrong, just don't stop asking questions. Look for different ways. Ayurveda might not be a way that feels comfortable for you. Maybe you are someone who's really, like, you would benefit from sound therapy or color therapy or therapy. You don't have to do conventional ways. There are so many modalities out there, and there's something for everybody. It's just, if you have the means to just ask questions and talk to people and get suggestions, I think that there's ways for everyone to really hear what it is that their body is telling them, and find something that works for them. But don't just let one person shut you down. If your intuition is telling you, no, something's not right, then you should go with that.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for listening to my conversation with Erica today. I really hope that you managed to get something from that. And for anyone who is going through any struggles just now, just know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, as Erica has shown as well. Details on how to contact Erica are in the description box below. And if you subscribe, you'll be notified when the next episode of the Spirit, Mind and Soul podcast comes out.